Hello friends, welcome to Behind the Shadows, a new way of telling stories.
The old McAllister house loomed before me like a specter from the past, its walls cloaked in green ivy and the slanted roof seeming to bow under the weight of its stories. As I stepped onto the unkempt lawn, I felt a chill run down my spine, not only from the icy wind that blew but from the unsettling sensation that the house was alive, watching each step I took. The news of my grandfather's death hit me like a punch to the gut, and now, standing before the inheritance he left behind, I felt torn between sadness and curiosity. "Why did you have to go, Grandpa?" I murmured to myself as I approached the front door, which creaked open. The interior was shrouded in shadows, and the smell of mildew assaulted my senses. The furniture was draped in white sheets, like ghosts waiting to be freed. Every room seemed to carry the weight of memories I could barely fathom. I decided to explore the house, trying to connect the dots of my grandfather's life. As I walked down a narrow hallway, I saw framed portraits on the walls. The faces of my family stared back at me, and a strange expression of sadness lingered on their features. "What happened to you all?" I asked aloud, but only the echo of my own voice replied. At the end of the hallway, a locked door caught my attention. A warning sign reading danger was affixed to it, and my curiosity intensified. "What are you hiding, Grandpa?" I whispered, leaning in to listen closely. A chill ran down my spine as if something was warning me not to proceed. But the temptation was too great. With a surge of determination, I decided I needed to know what lay beyond that door. With effort, I turned the doorknob, and the door opened with a chilling creak. What I saw made my heart race, a dark basement filled with old dolls that seemed to watch me with empty yet secretive eyes. As I took a step forward, a wave of whispers and laughter reverberated through the air, as if the souls present were trying to communicate with me. "What is happening here?" I asked, feeling a mix of fear and adrenaline. The answer seemed to hide in the shadows, and I knew the truth was closer than I could imagine. I jolted awake, heart racing, with giggles and whispers echoing throughout the house. The darkness of my room felt denser, as if it were alive, trying to trap me there. I got out of bed, trying to ignore the chill that ran down my spine. "It's just your imagination," I told myself, but curiosity overpowered my fear. I slowly descended the stairs, each step echoing like a call to the unknown. When I reached the basement, the door was slightly ajar, as if inviting me to enter. The dim light of the lantern barely illuminated the dolls lined up on their shelves, but even so, I could feel their eyes watching me, assessing my presence. "Why are you here, Ethan?" The whisper seemed to come from the very air around me, as if the voices of the dolls were merging with my thoughts. "Who's there?" I asked, my voice sounding louder than I intended. A doll dressed as a clown stood out on the shelf, its button eyes shining with a disturbing intensity. "You shouldn't have come," it seemed to say, though its mouth remained still. A shiver ran down my spine, and I approached, drawn by an inexplicable impulse. "What do you want from me?" I murmured, my voice trembling. Then one of the dolls, the clown, leaned forward, its expression shifting to something I couldn't identify: fear, sadness, or perhaps a warning. Suddenly, one of them fell from the shelf, hitting the floor with a dull thud. I crouched to pick up the doll, and when my hands touched the cold surface of the plastic, an image flooded my mind. It was a photo of a missing child, a face I recognized from those old news reports that circulated in the city. "Help us," the voices whispered, now more insistent. "We need you." Fear and confusion swirled in my chest. What had I discovered? Those dolls were not just toys, they were witnesses to lost lives, to souls trapped in a cycle of pain. "What can I do?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, as reality began to unfold before me. That gray morning, the weak sunlight filtered through the dusty basement windows, and I could barely breathe. The whispers that had once seemed distant now echoed around me, more intense and pleading. "Ethan." A soft voice, almost familiar, seemed to float in the air. I felt compelled to respond, even though I didn't know who was calling. "Who's there?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The silence that followed was deafening, but then a child's laugh rang out, and I shuddered. I looked at the dolls lined up on the shelves, their fixed and vacant expressions seeming to scrutinize me. The clown doll, which had once seemed merely frightening, now appeared more like a guardian of dark secrets. "You need to help us, Ethan," the voice whispered again, and a wave of cold washed over my spine. Desperate, I remembered the reports about the disappearances in the city. "They're all here, aren't they?" I murmured to myself, realizing the connection between the dolls and the lost souls. Each one represented an interrupted life, a story untold. Why did my grandfather do this? I thought aloud, not expecting an answer. That's when I realized I could no longer just stand there. I needed to understand how to free those who were trapped. If you can hear me, tell me what I should do. I shouted, my voice echoing off the cold walls of the basement. To my surprise, the whispers intensified, becoming a cacophony of voices, each trying to stand out. Ritual. We need the ritual. A feminine voice whispered, and I could feel the urgency in her words. What does that mean? I looked at the clown doll, its penetrating gaze seeming to challenge me to uncover the truth. How can I help you? I asked, my resolve beginning to grow in the face of the despair surrounding me. However, as I struggled to understand how to perform that ritual, a heavy sensation lingered in the air. The basement seemed to vibrate with a dark energy. I shivered as I noticed that each doll was beginning to move slowly, their expressions shifting from sorrow to a subtle rage. The atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive, as if those souls were uniting against me. No. I want to help. I shouted, but the response I received was a collective murmur, a blend of pain and frustration. The voices intertwined, forming an anguished chorus that filled the space. My heart began to race, and part of me wanted to flee, but another part knew I couldn't abandon those trapped souls. Then, amid the chaos, I realized I needed to confront what lay before me. If you truly want help, tell me how. I cried, and in response, the dolls drew closer to me, their expressions becoming clearer, a mix of fear and hope. What I didn't know was that the real struggle was just beginning. The pressure in my chest mounted as I found myself surrounded by those dolls, their eyes shining with an otherworldly intensity. What I was about to do was not just a ritual, it was a dance with fate, a choice that could define not only my life but the lives of the souls trapped there. The door to the basement slammed shut with a bang, and a wave of despair washed over me. I had nowhere to run. Please, let me go. I shouted, but my voice sounded small against the whispers echoing around me. That clown, which had once stared at me with a penetrating gaze, now seemed closer, the other dolls moving slowly toward me. You have to help us, Ethan, a soft voice, almost a whisper, resonated in the air. We are the lost souls. Without you, we will find no peace. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. What could I do? I was just a kid, powerless. I will try, I murmured, my determination growing as I remembered the journal I had found. What had my grandfather done? What was the price of your protection? Fear paralyzed me, but the need to free those beings pushed me forward. With a hesitant gesture, I began to search the basement, among the dusty shelves and cobweb-covered dolls, until I found an old leather-bound diary, its yellowed pages worn and fragile. Do you really think you can undo what has been done? The clown doll interrupted my thoughts. Your grandfather made a pact. He trapped us here, and now you want to free them? His voice was a mix of sarcasm and desperation. You don't know what you're doing. I have no choice. I replied, my anger and fear intertwining. I can't leave you here. You need help. I frantically flipped through the pages of the diary until I found a passage that spoke of a liberation ritual. But with every word I read, I felt the weight of responsibility grow. What would happen if I failed? You're going to need courage, Ethan, a familiar voice whispered, and as I looked around, I realized there was now a stronger presence, an aura emanating from the dolls. We are the voices you have been hearing. The ritual must be performed correctly, or we will all remain trapped forever. Are you ready for this? The words echoed in my mind as I prepared myself. The clown moved closer, and something in his gaze made me hesitate. Remember, what you do now could change everything. One wrong choice and you could become one of them. His warning left me even more anxious, but I had no way to retreat. The souls were crying out for freedom, and I was determined to give them a chance. I took a deep breath, focusing on the energy pulsing around me. Let's do this, then. What do I need to do? The anticipation in the air was palpable, and as I began to draw the necessary symbols on the floor, I realized that the true battle was only just beginning. The air in the basement was heavy, almost tangible, and I felt a growing pressure as the dolls united, forming a sinister line before me. They were no longer just inanimate objects. Now, they were guardians of a dark secret. Please, let me help you. I shouted, my voice trembling as the echo of whispers intensified, merging into a deafening clamor. Help? A thin, shrill voice rang out among the others. It was one of the smaller dolls, a boy with button eyes who seemed to beg for mercy. You don't understand. We are trapped here because of your family. They abandoned us." My heart raced at his words. The pain and despair in their voices were palpable, and I couldn't ignore the fact that somehow, my lineage was intertwined with these lost souls. "I want to free you. Is there anything I can do?" I asked, feeling the energy around me thrum like a drum. "Complete the ritual." Another, deeper voice shouted. It was one of the larger puppets, its fierce gaze fixed on me. "But know that the price will be high." With determination growing inside me, I began to recite the words I had read in my grandfather's diary. As the intense light started to shine in the basement, the puppets twisted, and flashes of their lives flashed before me. I saw children playing in a park, families gathered around a table, moments of joy that were abruptly interrupted by darkness. The light intensified, and I could feel the souls beginning to break free, but suddenly, a larger puppet, which I recognized as the representation of my grandfather, advanced toward me. "You can't do this, Ethan." Its voice echoed, deep and authoritative. "I made sacrifices to protect our family." "Protect?" I retorted, anger boiling inside me. "You imprisoned them. Free them. They don't deserve this pain." He hesitated, and for a moment, it seemed he might relent. But then his gaze hardened, and a wave of sadness and anger intertwined spread through the basement. "You don't know what you're asking. If you free them, you'll have to pay the price." The confrontation between us was about to escalate, and I knew the future of all those souls depended on me. The light began to flicker, and my heart raced as if caught in a deadly dance between hope and despair. "I won't give up," I shouted, resolute in my decision. "I will free them, no matter the cost." I was in a state of panic, struggling to comprehend the horrifying revelation of the puppet that represented my grandfather. "You must sacrifice yourself, Ethan. Only then will the souls find peace." His voice resonated like a distant echo, a mix of love and condemnation. Tears streamed down my face as I watched the souls around me, their despair palpable, as if they were pulling me toward the abyss. "But that's not fair," I cried, my voice trembling, as the basement floor shook beneath my feet, each wrinkle of pain on the puppets' faces reflecting the weight of the choice I had to make. "Why me? Why not you?" "Because I am what I am. The past cannot be changed, Ethan." He gestured to the puppets by my side, their empty eyes shining with infinite sorrow. "But you can make a difference now." The pressure mounted. The souls around me whispered, "Freedom. Please." And I knew that somehow this was connected to me. The idea of becoming one of them, of losing my own identity, terrified me. And as I hesitated, a wave of courage surged through me. "No. I can't." The words erupted from me like a desperate scream. "I can't leave them like this." In a moment of clarity, I realized that the sacrifice my grandfather proposed was merely an echo of his own curse. He wanted me to feel the pain he himself endured. "You cannot escape your destiny," whispered one of the smaller dolls, its sad eyes fixed on me, and I understood that the truth was even darker. What I was about to do was not just for them, but also to break the chain that bound my own family. So, with a heavy heart and growing determination, I said, "If this is my destiny, so be it. But I will not let this end in pain. I will free them." And in that instant, a blinding light burst through the whole basement, burning away the darkness around me. The souls began to vanish, and a profound relief filled the air. But at the last moment, the doll that represented my grandfather turned to me and murmured, "You cannot escape your destiny." The words reverberated in my mind as I felt myself being pulled into the darkness, the light fading away. Suddenly, everything went silent. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a different place, surrounded by dolls that were exact copies of me. Terror enveloped me. No, this can't be happening," I screamed. The final whisper echoed in my ear, "Now it's your turn to tell the story." Darkness surrounded me, and I realized that the curse continued, and I had become a part of it. The cycle had not ended.